disclaimer that I have not bought all of these at once. These have been accumulated over months. They're from random orders. Some of them I picked up on their own. Yada yada yada. The thing is, I read a lot of the books that I acquired recently, so they're not gonna be included in today's video. But I will have 2 books that I already read. One is a new release, and one I just want to show off the edition because I think it's very pretty. Without further ado, I think we shall start. So, first book I've got here is My Tabs Fell Out. Bear Down by Frederick Bachman. Bear Down, Bear Down. This is not a new release or anything, and I believe you will most likely know this book. It is quite popular, and I often hear it being people's faves. Maybe not like a favorite of like Frederick Bachman, I don't know, but like a favorite in general, I don't know. New York Times best-selling author of Anxious People. Anxious People. I'm not going to be most likely reading the backs because I have quite a lot of books and I have a time limit on my camera because I have to do a proper spring cleaning on my phone, which I have not done yet, even though it's not really spring yet either. Anyway, do let me know if you like this mic setting for like book triggers because I just don't think that these sound good. I think this mic setting sounds good for like whispers, but I'm not sure if it sounds good for like tapping and all that. Or maybe I just don't know how to tap. And essentially, let's read like the little, not blurb, like little exhibit, I don't know. It's only a game. It only resolves tiny insignificant things, such as who gets validation, who gets listened to. It allocates power and draws boundaries and turns some people into stars and others into spectators. That's all. But that told me exactly nothing. Well, from what I know, I might be wrong, so do not quote me on this. I would correct myself if I had time to read the blurb right now. It's about kind of like a small town in the middle of nowhere, like kind of in the middle of forest, and they have their like town hockey team. These are these young stars, like boys that have like good potential, and I believe they have like a very important hockey match, like a national match or something like that, and they're like preparing very hard for it. This whole town's like legacies hockey, I believe, and then like kind of like, I don't know if I want to call it a tragedy strikes, but it's a lot about like relationships and people and all of these things from what I know. So yeah, very excited. I said I'm going to be fast in 4 minutes. I just cannot do this. Okay. Next up, let's do this one, which is my tiny edition of Nth House by Bardugo. Nth House by Bardugo with the snake on the cover. This is mass market paperback, which I had not known that this book comes in mass market paperback. I arguably ordered it because it was the cheapest. If I had known that it has mass market paperback edition, I might have put 2 and 2 together, but in fact I had not known, therefore I was dumbfounded when this arrived. I'm not mad at it or anything. I think it could be actually quite fun to read it as a mass market paperback, but I do want to have a matching edition to Hellbent. So once I read this, I will be on a quest to acquiring a regular size edition. Is that excessive? Maybe. But let me leave. Thank you. This is like a dark academia fantasy. It Isn't that just so pretty? Anyway, One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. I picked this hardcover edition for like £10, less than £10. Because I believe this edition, perhaps they did a new one, so they were selling out their stock, or I don't know. But she's gorgeous, she's stunning. I love her. She will be on display. So, you could read this blurb here because it's quite short. In New York City, two rival witch families fight for the upper hand. The Antonova sisters are beautiful, cunning, and ruthless, and their mother, known only as Baba Yaga, is an elusive supplier of premium intoxicants. Their adversaries, the influential Fedorov brothers, serve their crime boss father, named Koshchei the Deathless. His enterprise dominates the shadows of magical Manhattan. For 12 years, the families have maintained a fraud stalemate. Then everything is thrown into disarray. Bad blood carries them to the brink of disaster. Even Faith draws together a brother and sister from either side. Yet the siblings still struggle for power, and internal conflicts could destroy each family from within. That is, if the enmity between empires doesn't destroy both sides first. This is like a dark fantasy following witches and like witchy New York, kind of like the underground, so dealing with intoxicants, which are kind of like drugs, and the underground scene. It is a Romeo and Juliet, I don't know if retelling or like inspired by it, with obviously the rival families, maybe one couple, maybe multiple couples falling in love, and then their families being at a conflict. And if you see the bookmark, no, you do not. I have started it, but then I've honestly been kind of in a book slump lately. I think I'm out of it, but I had been, and this will change my life. I know that, and because I was not really experiencing the way that I should have been, I just had to put it down. So kind of ignore that because I'll read it again. But a stunning edition, don't you think? Why will I put you here? Okay, next up, I've got, I love dabbing on paperbacks. God, Cleopatra and Frankenstein. Cleopatra and Frankenstein. By, I don't know if you can see, by Coco Mellers. Coco Mellers. This is from what I believe is, this is literary fiction following a girl that essentially is like in her 20s and it has a very like wild lifestyle, and then I believe she needs a visa, and then she kind of elopes with this much older man, and they kind of like, you follow her life, I believe so. I think we can read the back. New York is slipping from Cleo's grasp. 24, at a different party every night, and with student visa that's swiftly running out. She doesn't even have money for cigarettes. But then a chance encounter on New Year's Eve offers her a way out. Frank, successful and 20 years older, can give her the security she craves and the green card she needs. And in Cleo, he sees a life filled with beauty, art, and freedom. As the two rush headlong into an impulsive marriage, and their friends are drawn into the tumultuous orbit, what began as a chance meeting will change all their lives forever. You know how I feel about literary fiction, you know how I feel about that one specific book. So, yeah, I'm very excited to read this. Honestly, I have really not been seeing it anywhere, and then the moment I kind of decided that I would like to read it, I just keep seeing it everywhere, and people like praising it. So I'm very, very, very excited about this. Next up, I've got kind of a new release, but I don't remember when it was released, maybe in 2020 honestly, this was so like random. I remember in January I had gone to pick up another book in a bookstore because I usually just order my books online because it's cheaper, and I miss the experience of picking up a physical book. So I had gone to pick up another book, and then I saw this and I was like, hey, fuck it, let's get it, because I just was so drawn to it. I believe it's inside. That's quite long. The first thing Vanessa Carvin does when she arrives on the island is change her name. To the local, she's Willow Hale, a solitary outsider escaping Dublin to live her hermit existence in a small cottage. Not a notorious woman on the run from her past, but scandals follow like hunting dogs, and she has some questions of her own to answer. If her ex-husband is really the monster everyone says he is, then how complicit she was in his crimes. Escaping her old life might seem like a good idea, but the choices she has made throughout a marriage have consequences. Here on the island, Vanessa must reflect on what she did and did not do. Only then can she discover whether she is worthy of finding any peace. Like the best novelists, John Boyne shines a new light in dark places and forces us to confront the many conflicting truths which contribute to the boundless complexity that is human nature. Look at the end pages. That is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Yeah. I'm very excited about this. When I looked at the reviews, they are very good, and yeah, very excited about that. Then I have here my first ever box set. This was so random because as I tend to, was laying in bed trying to fall asleep, and sorry, I received a message, like kind of an urgent one. Okay, and I was like, I want to read Vicious, so I went to check, and the box set was on sale. So sorry, I have to respond to this because the person is otherwise going to call me, and I cannot have that. Oh no. I think it's going to stop recording. Is it? Is it not? This is complicated. I'm so sorry. I'm kind of like moving you, shaking you. Is it still recording? Beautiful. I'm so sorry. I hope you don't have motion sickness because of me. I could, cut it out, but I hope it's not too bad. And well, anyway, and I decided, I want to read Vicious. My best friend had told me that I would love it. I knew that I would love it, and I just randomly decided to pick it up. I have not obviously read it yet, but I do plan on I do plan on reading it, but as it tends to be, unless I have the book in my bookshelf, when I have these random spur and moment, like, I want to read that, then most likely I buy it, and then it kind of goes away, and then I have to just regain that mood back, so it will happen. But I also, this will sound so stupid, but I know that I will be utterly obsessed with these, and I've lately been kind of upset. This will be so stupid. I've lately been kind of upset that I've had so many, like, highly rated reads. You're like, what? Isn't that the point of reading? It is. But it's also like, am I just getting soft? So, yeah. So this is the duology. Now, supposedly, the author, V. Schwab, is writing a third book right now. I believe it's been years, like many, many years. So, is this going to be just a duology or one day a trilogy? That I do not know. But I know that it is very beloved, and I am excited to read it. It kind of follows, do not quote me, I believe it follows like two like friends that are now enemies, and they're kind of like fighting on like the opposite sides, and I don't know. I just know that it has morally great characters and great times. Okay. Next up, I've got a new release. That is like fun fact, I actually dyed my hair, but you cannot see it, but it's dark red. It shines red on backs, the other backs are not that special. Okay, let me first tell you, and then we have just a few minutes. Well, that is lovely. Essentially, then let's not read it, and let me just tell you. This book essentially follows, it's like a dark academia, 1970s, 1960s, following a prestigious university, like a college, where we have two academic rivals, Laura and Carmilla, who are at each other's throats in a way. But let's just say that perhaps their rivalry is not only fueled by the need for academic excellence, but perhaps unresolved attraction to one another. And you have this kind of like a mysterious, enchanting professor. They're both like poetry writers, and this poetry professor is like everybody wants to be in her class. Everybody wants to be part of whatever she's doing, and Carmilla is kind of like the teacher's favorite, and Laura gets drawn into their relationship, if there is some, and into that whole thing. And S.D. Gibson has written A Diary of Blood, which is not a Dracula retelling, but it follows Dracula's first wife, Constanta, and this is within that universe. However, I refuse to acknowledge that. Thank you very much. So there are vampires in this, but I'm not gonna tell you who is, who isn't, whatever, because I don't frankly know properly what exactly is going to be happening. But yeah. You did not hear that because I cut that out. But I slammed my nail into my mic and it made extremely loud sound. And I'm moving on. Next up, I've got here The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broad. Carissa Broad. Now, I have already read this book, but the reason why I'm showing you right now is because, oh my god, you're not able to see it. Look at that. Oh god, my mic is in the way. Can you see it? Stunning, amazing, beautiful. This is the Bramble edition. The sole reason I got this edition and paid extra because it's a US copy, and that I'm not able to get like in the store. Arguably quite unsurprising. But anyway, it's the Bramble edition. So if you want that beautiful hardcover, like naked cover, I definitely recommend it. This is first book of a duology, but there will be more books within this like universe. This is the first book, and it follows our main character. I call her Araya, alright? It's Araya, but I refuse to acknowledge that as well. Araya, who is a human brought up in the world of vampires. Essentially, she does this world. There's vampires that are not really maybe how you imagine them in Twilight, or perhaps even the Tower of Blood and all of that. They have fangs, they drink blood, sure, but they have wings as well. And essentially, this land is kind of divided into these like different courts, and one of the courts, like each of the courts, that kind of has a king or a ruler, and the king of the night court. That's not this book. That's A Court of Thorns and Roses. The House of Night. Okay, I'm not stupid. I actually said it correctly. So sorry, I had to. My camera cut off. So okay. Essentially, this land is kind of divided into different houses, and the House of Night has a king. Not a king. A king. And during like a destroyed intentionally because there was like an uprising, whatever. And Araya is a human child that survives. Like her whole family was killed in this house, and she's the only sole survivor. And they are about to like probably like taunt her, or train her, or whatever. And then King himself, the Vampire King, takes a liking to her, not in a weird sense. Like he adopts her as his own child and brings her up as his own. But she's still a human. But she's completely brought up in a vampiric world, and that kind of causes for Araya to not know where she belongs. She doesn't really belong with the humans, but she doesn't really feel like she belongs with the vampires because she's always going to be a prey to them. And that's where the main plot of the book happens, because in this world there's this like a trial, very similar to kind of like Hunger Games, that happens only a few hundred years. That is the Kachari, which is this contest in the honor of the main goddess Nyaxia, who essentially created vampires. And it's this sometimes months-long trial where essentially you compete, and if you win, you get granted whatever you want from the goddess herself. And Araya wants to join this trial to win a wish from her that would kind of be able to settle her mind on who she is and what she is. And I'm not gonna even, I don't think it's a spoiler, but still. And you essentially like follow her in the trials and kind of making enemies and friends and more, yada yada yada. So yeah, as I said, it's a fantasy. I believe this is one of the prime examples of romantasy that a lot of people love. So I'm not gonna say my opinion because like this is not book wrap up. Okay, next up I've got a new release, a February release, which is What Feasts at Night by Dein Fisher. This is the sequel, second book in the Sworn Soldier series, with the first book being What Moves the Dead. I have all that on my channel. I have spoken about that book on my channel and how much I love it. So this was a very anticipated read for me. I already read it. So yeah. Enter a cold and silent forest and find out what feasts at night in this new gothic tale from the best-selling and award-winning author Dein Fisher, set in the world of What Moves the Dead. Essentially, since they're like standalone, so you can read this one only, but I recommend reading them all, like first read What Moves the Dead and then read this, because you will be much more attached to the characters and it will just feel better. And you also, like, they speak on what happens in What Moves the Dead, not like much, but you know, you get like little glimpses of how those events affected them. So yeah, it's like a horror novella. And essentially in this one, our main character is Alex Easton, who is a sworn soldier. They are a non-binary icon, and they're from this land of Galatia, which is kind of like a very poor, very, I don't know if I want to call it old Slavic, maybe like a mixture between Balkan and Slavic country. And in this one, it takes place actually in the not hometown but homeland of Easton, our main character, in Galatia, where the characters from the first book, like one mycologist, kind of they owe her a favor, and she kind of wants to go to Galatia because she wants to study some mushrooms or whatever. So they go into this like bit of like a hunting lodge that Easton owns, like his family, like my mind is like Easton. They inherited, and essentially lots of creepy and eerie things start happening. This is beautiful, stunning, amazing. If you need a short but entertaining horror novella that will just be kind of gonna be a palate cleanser, this is a palate cleanser to me. So this is not new release, but kind of a new release, like released in 2023, but not this year. And it's new fantasy series. It's book one in the Hierarchy series. And essentially this, as I understand, this has a very long blurb, so I actually cannot read you that, but this kind of takes place during the Roman Empire, where this society works that the higher upper class, the noblemen and all of them, kind of feed off of the lower classes. They feed on their will, and it's kind of mandatory for the lower class to kind of give their will to the higher upper men. And there's this like college or something like that, academy. Okay, at the elite Canton Academy, a young fugitive uncovers layered mysteries and world-changing secrets in this new fantasy series by internationally best-selling author of the Lycanes trilogy, James I Ling. Yeah, at this academy, our main character is essentially like sent to be a part of the academy, and he promises or swears that he will, once he finishes at the academy, he will give his will as everybody else. But it's this kind of like the magic in their life essence, I don't know. But actually our main character has been sent to the academy to uncover like some secret or some kind of treasure or something by these people who are quite dangerous, and if he does not do that, they are the only ones who know his true identity. Like, he is somebody completely else to everyone at the academy, to anybody who knows him in a way, and the only ones who know who he truly is are the ones that are kind of like holding him at the back of the neck, through the back of the neck, at the back of the, with prepositions, and kind of like not aiding him, but giving him ultimatums. I did not explain this well, but I heard incredible things about this. It's big, but I'm so excited about it. Fuck it, let's read the blurb. I have to convince you to read this. The Catalan Republic, the hierarchy, may rule the world now, but they do not know everything. I tell them my name is Vistelimus. I tell them I was orphaned after a tragic accident 3 years ago, and that good fortune alone has led my acceptance into their most prestigious school. I tell them that I once graduated and will gladly join the rest of the civilized society in allowing my strength, my drive, and my focus, what they call will, to be leached away and added to the power of those above me, as millions already do, as all must eventually do. I tell them that I belong, and they believe me. But the truth is that I have been sent to the academy to find answers, to solve a murder, to search for an ancient weapon, to uncover secrets that may tear the Republic apart. And I will never ever cede my will to the empire that executed my family. To survive, though, I still have to rise through the academy's ranks. I will have to smile and make friends and pretend to be one of them and win. Because if I cannot, then those who want to control me, who know my real name, will no longer have any use for me. And if the hierarchy finds out who I truly am, they will kill me. I hope you're convinced. Okay, and the last two books are Bright Young Women by Jessica Moore. I believe this is like a literary fiction, thriller, mystery in a way, somewhere along those lines. I had my eye on this one since like October perhaps, so I'm happy. I mean, I've owned this for a little bit now, but I have not read it yet. January 1978, Tallahassee, when sorority president Pamela Schumacher, in my native language, is startled awake at 3 a.m. by a strange sound. She is shocked to encounter a scene of implausible violence. 2 of her friends dead and 2 others others maimed. Thrust into a terrifying mystery, Pamela becomes entangled in a crime that captivates public interest for more than 4 decades. February 1974. On the other side of the country, Tina Cannon has found peace in Seattle after years of hardship when Ruth, her best friend, goes missing from Lake Sammamish State Park in broad daylight, surrounded by thousands of beachgoers on a beautiful summer day. Tina devotes herself to finding out what happened to her. When Tina hears about the tragedy in Tallahassee, she suspects the same man is responsible. Determined to make him answer for what he did to Ruth, she travels to Florida on a collision course with Pamela and one last impending tragedy. Bright Young Woman is an extraordinary novel inspired by the real-life sorority targeted by America's first celebrity serial killer in his final murder phase. In his final murder spree. Sorry.